This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional medical, mental health, legal, or financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional for personalized guidance or treatment. By listening, you acknowledge that the hosts and guests are not responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content.
Feel like a grouch, go beyond the couch. Share your confessions on the Aurora Sessions.
Hello, Aurora Healing Crew. Welcome to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch, where we take the stressors that come up in session and bring them into conversation beyond the couch. This is the space where real talk meets real life. Hi, everyone. It's Teresa. I'm the founder of Aurora Sun Counseling, a group private practice providing psychotherapy for clients in New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Here with me is my good friend, Michele. Can you tell everybody what you do and why I wanted you to be here?
Yes. Hi, I'm Michele Fecht. As Teresa said, I'm one of her good friends. She's a very good friend of mine, and I've been grateful for her friendship. Professionally, I am a licensed professional counselor, which is an LPC. And in Pennsylvania, I'm a licensed behavior specialist. And I'm also a certified in child and adolescent anxiety. Yeah. And I work during the day. I work at a middle school providing therapy services to students who qualify through their IEP for those services. And then at night, some nights, I also have a private practice. So primarily, I work with adolescents and teens, probably 10 to 17 range age.
Can you tell me about why you became a therapist?
So it's kind of interesting because when I was growing up, it was all about being a teacher. No one could tell me otherwise. I had a fake classroom in the basement with a chalkboard my dad had bought at a yard sale. I had a fake teacher name. I had all the things. I went to college and got to my senior year of college, just about ready to graduate. And I had the thought of, oh crap, I don't want to be a teacher. And what had changed my mind so drastically was at the time, my brother, who is only 14 months younger than me, was struggling with substance abuse and mental health issues. It wasn't a new struggle. My parents were always grateful to have had us because they went through 7 years of infertility in the 70s. And then out of nowhere, they ended up having 3 children in 3.5 years. So be careful what you wish for is what they always said. So my younger brother is only 14 months younger than me. My older brother is only 2.5 years older than me. So we were all very close in age. So you had 3 teenagers at one time. My younger brother from the beginning was different. In the early 80s, we didn't really know much about why he was different. We just knew he was different. He had his own language that most people could not understand. Being only 14 months older than him, I was kind of like his translator. So people would ask him a question and they would have no idea what he said. So I would be beside him like, oh, he wants peanut butter and jelly. Or, oh, he needs a drink, because he just couldn't understand him, which now we know, and he was diagnosed later with Apraxia, which is a speech and language disorder where you can't coordinate your tongue, lips, and mouth and jaw to produce sounds. So when he went to preschool, the teachers at that preschool told my parents, you need to get him evaluated. Now, this is 1983, so that tells you how significant this would have been at the time. So they did, and he qualified for services right off the bat. He went to intermediate schools. Me and my older brother went to Catholic school. My younger brother could not go there because of his disabilities at the time. So they sent him out of district. He couldn't even go to our local school at the time. So he was in special education, but in more like self-contained life skills type class because he was, he had the Apraxia, but he also had learning disabilities, challenges with reading and writing. But smart as anything. I mean, it was brilliant. So as time went on, when he was about 17, he got diagnosed with autism. It was about that time, 98, that was starting to become more diagnosed.
Which is so interesting because now the diagnosis is earlier as we know more about autism and what it looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And even then, we didn't know what it was. So my parents didn't even know he had autism because it wasn't really explained. It wasn't until I got my degree that I started going, hey, Mom, Dad, I think David has autism, because the signs were all there. The apraxia, the difficulty speaking. He would line his cars up around the house in like this order around the house. He lost track of time. He had trouble with social connections, inferences, like just a lot of things. He would play on his own a lot in his own little world. So there were a lot of, all the signs were there. It's just in the 80s and early 90s, that just wasn't something, we knew autism as nonverbal individuals at that time and didn't realize the broad spectrum of what it is today.
Right.
So he was more diagnosed with just severe learning disabilities, apraxia, and that was it at the time. So anyway, so as I was going through college, we also had some things go on in our teen years that were difficult for us as a family, that me and my brother were there for each other for. And I just thought when I got to my senior year of college, like, I want to be the me that we needed. And teachers are great. Teachers are there for their kids. I'm not saying that, but I had a good guidance counselor in high school that helped me along. And I thought, you know what, I want to do that. I think I'm going to change focus and do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to switch majors at the time?
I didn't switch majors. I did graduate with the education degree.
Okay.
But when I graduated, I went and became a social worker, case manager in mental health instead of going into teaching. And then while I did that job, I got my master's. Got
it. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So did you end up having to student teach in all that business? No? Oh, that's good.
No, I knew enough. That was the wake up call when I got my student teaching assignment. That's when I went, oh, I don't actually want to do this.
Okay.
So what I did was I was able to take more health and humans, I forget what it was called, health and human studies classes. In replace to just not be able to get certified as a teacher, which was fine for me because I knew that's not what I was going to do anyway. So I changed the focus to psychology and human development towards the end, but just kept the teaching degree.
Okay. Yeah. And that is actually something that I say to people too, that usually the career picks us and we don't pick the career.
Yes. So and I don't think it was, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was raised in a very I lived in Aurora and blue collar. I'm the first college graduate on my mom's side, I think second on my dad's. So it wasn't like being a therapist was a role that we heard about. I heard about accountant because I was good at math. I heard about teaching. I heard about being a lawyer. But I don't think anyone said, hey, you should be a psychologist.
Right.
You should be a therapist one day. You know what I mean? I don't think
and
it was pushed.
The steps to take, like what classes, what's the major, what do you have to do to get your degree?
Yeah. And I think it's more common now. I don't think when we were growing up.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also say that I think having a therapist is trendy right now.
It's more of a career path. I think COVID helped people realize the value of mental health.
Yes, for sure. So your brother helped you, guide you in your career path. So can you tell me about, I guess, family dynamics and how that affected you and what your family had to go through having an undiagnosed?
Yes. So I would say around the early 90s. So when my brother was about, so when he was about 12, 13, at the time, there was a push for inclusion, which is a great thing. But in 1992, I don't think people were ready for it or understood individuals like my brother David. Now, teachers are trained in that. So when they did that in middle school, unfortunately, I don't think that it was the good fit for him. So he was in special education for math and reading, I believe, and then regular classes for the other ones. But the problem was, he couldn't keep up. He fell behind. He started not wanting to go to school, feeling stupid, feeling insecure, feeling like he didn't belong, that he couldn't get it. Like he just really, insecurity really started popping its head up in the middle school years. So he started avoiding school and not going. And there would be horrible fights to try and get him to go. And then, if you work with children, I mean, it's really hard to send them to a place, is upsetting. Some things were not great. He was called lazy, unmotivated, stupid. One teacher that we both had, because we were a year apart, actually said, "Why can't you be smart like your sister in math? Your sister was so good at math. Why are you good at math?" And he came home and he told me about it and he was so upset. So, it was the early 90s. Things were a little different. I'm glad we've made some progress. But when you're not good at school and you don't feel comfortable at school and you're not really good at sports, and you're dealing with this speech issue and this learning issue and autism, and you're dealing with depression and anxiety, sometimes, someone might offer you some drugs, marijuana or cigarettes, and you try it because, whatever. And I think that was the beginning of him kind of learning how to cope with all of the things that were going on in his mind at the time.
And how old around?
I think he started smoking marijuana at 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe 12, 13. And it progressed. It wasn't like right off the gate an addict. I don't think anyone chooses that. I don't think anyone goes, you know what? I think I'm just going to go all out. And I think that's the misconception, is that it's a choice or that people are choosing it. I think in the beginning, for most addicts, it's just fun or a way to escape and
a coping skill.
A coping skill.
To get through the bullies at school, the fights, feeling dumb.
Right. And too often the bullies that my brother dealt with were adults. And I'll be fair about that. And that, because I don't think a lot of people understood him. And they mistook at the time, his shyness or his wanting to retreat or wanting to escape the noise as defiance. And I don't think we had the services or the knowledge at the time. I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think you make decisions with the information you have at the time, right? We've come a long way, so it's easier to take 2025 goggles and look at 1993 with a huge chunk of chip on your shoulder a little bit. But it is what it is. So fast forward, the first time my brother overdosed, I believe I was 16 and he was 15. It wasn't like a real overdose. A friend of his had Ritalin for their ADD, and they all took it.
Right.
And my brother had a bad reaction and ended up in the hospital. So my parents did the right thing immediately. He went to rehab. We did the meetings. We did family therapy at the time. So kudos to them. Even in the 90s, they went and got their kid help.
Right.
Which is probably
and family
really
therapy.
hard to do. Yeah.
Right.
So then, he still struggled, did not want to go to school. School was not a place he wanted to be. And he really wasn't like a problem in the community or anything. He kind of just stayed to himself. He had really good friends that were accepting and there for him. Then he moved to Florida with my father. He did get services down in Florida. They re-identified him as needing self-contained classes.
So like 15, 16 years old.
So he's 17.
Oh, okay.
So that's when he got diagnosed with the autism.
Right.
And then they said this student shouldn't be in regular education. He should be in like a life skills
independent living
living, preparing you for life type of program. So they switched him back, which would have been great. However, it was almost too late because he was 17 at the time. He had turned 18. the school up in PA did not transfer his credits because he never finished ninth grade. So then they told my brother he would go to school until he was 21 at that point, or 20 instead of graduating at 19. And my brother, he was 18. He was like, I'm done. You just put up one more roadblock.
Right.
I'm done.
So between the overdose to 19 or 17, did he continue to experiment?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know, yeah, probably. But it was mostly just weed really throughout high school. Maybe some Ritalin. He wasn't a drinker. So it really didn't get, I mean, it wasn't good, but he was still him and doing, just wasn't going to school, but he was the kindest, sweetest person you've ever met. So around, I want to say, I don't know. So I guess around when he was about 21, 22 is when he started getting into more riskier substances. I think the whole school thing, like having to essentially drop out because they put another year onto his thing, threw him through a loop because I think he thought at that time he was doing good. He had a path. He was going to graduate. He was going to go tech. Like I think he thought he had a handle on some things and saw the end of the tunnel of the school thing. And then when they put that roadblock up, I feel like that threw him into almost like I give up. I do know he started heroin on accident. He thought he was smoking a joint and it wasn't. Yeah, so that was an accident. He never would have, I mean, who knows, but we're in him.
Well, that's also one of the risks that we teach young people is one, marijuana isn't the marijuana that your grandparents smoked. And also you never know what is in it.
And something clicked in him and it was like, this is the best thing I've ever felt. And I think he thought like anybody who starts it, like, I'm fine. I'm not going to get addicted. Like it's going to be fine. And that just started, 3 decades of going kind of up and down and all around. So it's, there's a lot to be learned from this whole process. And for the audience to know, my brother did pass away March 17th of 2025, probably about, let's see. So he was 43. So we're talking almost 30 years of using substances. Not all of those were active addiction years. There were some sober years in there, some good years in there, some not so great years in there.
So when he was sober, what do you think was the most helpful to keep him? What did he do that kept him sober?
I think when he was sober, so there were a couple times he was sober, so each time was a different recipe. But I will say that the first time he was sober, what helped him? Good question.
Was it like after rehab or detox?
So the first time he got clean was after several years of some really difficult addiction. And that kind of happened with, we finally got him on Medicaid, which was a big deal. And he was qualified for Medicaid through mental health, not substance abuse, not autism at the time, because in this process, my brother was also diagnosed with PTSD from a trauma that he had had as a child. He also was diagnosed with major depression and anxiety. So with those diagnoses, he qualified for Medicaid. So once we got him on Medicaid and we're able to get him insurance, I guess he might have been like 25 at the time, 24, 25, somewhere around there. We were able to get him services. We got him a case manager. He was able to get onto methadone, which is a medically assisted treatment for those who become addicted to opiates. You can't get
Harm
high.
reduction.
Right.
Harm reduction.
Harm
Yes.
reduction. Thank you. We got him on that, and we got him some counseling. We got him therapy. Went to rehab. We took him to meetings. We did all the things, and he did pretty okay for probably a year and a half. About that time, and then to be honest, since then he hadn't touched heroin in 20 years. So I mean, that actually did work.
Right.
But the issue I find that made him go to other things is the mental health aspect. We treated the substance abuse, but we never were able to get the treatment for the underlying issues. And that's where I think we're messing up.
Okay. So circling back to getting qualified for disability, we're talking about permanent disability through the state.
Yes.
And in order to get permanent disability through the state hires, you have to go to a psychiatrist or provider that the state approves of. Right. And they put all the symptoms and everything, and then the court decides that he's permanent disabled, which means that he can't function enough or be able to have a full-time job.
Right.
And then because of that, because we live in the United States, our health insurance depends on our jobs, so therefore he qualified for Medicaid as well. And then that's how he was able to get services.
Right. And to be clear, because there's a lot of controversy about it, my brother got it on the first shot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Nobody gets it on the first shot.
No, not for mental health especially.
So that tells you a lot of what they saw at the time and his whole childhood. I mean, it's not like he just was always different and needed a lot of support. Throughout his whole life, he needed support. And I think that's how he turned to addiction, is that support was taken away. When he was moved to a different education program, he lost that support. And then when we gave it back to him, it was almost too late. If I had to go back in time, I would tell parents, make sure you're fighting for the support your kids need and don't take no for an answer of what you think they need, because my parents fought that. And we're like, we don't think you should be in those classrooms. And the school said, no, this is what we're doing. So I think, advocating for your family and being present is one way that families really can help their loved one who is, or not families, spouses, whoever, friends, can help their loved one with accessing services or helping get their needs met. Because I think that helped a lot once we got, because before that period, I couldn't get him in anywhere without insurance. Forget it. There was one place that was $750 a month or something at the time. I remember calling and I was like, my brother's really struggling, but he doesn't have insurance. So we were really glad when he got it, and it really helped the financial burden for my parents and for him. And that helped for a little while. But again, at the time, and even now, there's not a lot of focus on co-occurring disorders. It's like we're treating mental health and substance abuse as two separate things, and they're separate from medical. And it's really, we should be doing all three because they are connected. And that's kind of what the issue was for a long time. So we would kind of go in a circle where we would find a place to help him, but they'd say, well, we can't, we don't have the license to prescribe his methadone if he comes here. So he can't come here unless he gets off the methadone, which if you need to get off methadone,
it's in your bones.
You need to detox.
Yes.
So you can't. Like that to get help. It would take months. And then if we went to a drug and alcohol place, they would say, well, he can't be on these psych meds that he's prescribed. So you have to be off those. So for those who don't know, and I'm curious too, why did they say he couldn't be on psych meds in the substance abuse programs? Some of the psychiatry medications he was on could be abused.
Got it. Like gabapentin, people don't like.
Gabapentin.
Yes.
That's a new one that people need to be aware of. Not new, but a newer one that's being abused.
Correct.
Gabapentin, benzos, any Ativan, Xanax, those types, Klonopin. Wait, is Klonopin a benzo? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought so. And then I always get it confused with that blood pressure one. It's got a similar name. Anyway, clonidine, I think. Anyway, so benzos can be abused. Seroquel can be abused. So these were some of the ones he was on that halfway house or a rehab would say he can't come here on them.
Yes.
Which was very frustrating because it's like, but he needs
both
of these medications and so where do I put him? And this was me, his sister, going around in the circles trying to navigate the system. And I'm in the field. So I know what to ask. And I always thought like, gosh, imagine if they didn't have these families who don't have someone who knows how to navigate this. Yeah, so it was quite difficult to find a place that could take all three. I will say right before he passed, there was one hospital that opened in our wonderful state, New Jersey, that is doing this now. Too little too late for my brother, but great hope for other people.
But that's the one thing that I keep thinking about. One is like, because you and your brother were only 16 months apart, 14 months apart, you answered from him when he couldn't speak to all the way till pretty much the day he passed. You were his advocate. Like, how lucky was he and your whole family that he had someone in the field, a sister, twin, Irish twins, as we call it, and to be there. And I can't imagine for the people who don't have a twin advocating in the field for someone, because a lot of part of the stigma of mental health and substance abuse is that it is a choice. You're weak if you get help. And meanwhile, the system, even in the industry, the system itself are fighting against each other.
I could say there were many times each system was passing my brother to the other. Like, this is your problem. This is yours. This is not ours. He went to a hospital in December of 2024. I won't say the name. He went there. It was up in North Jersey, and he was at a rehab. And then he went to the hospital for something medical. And then the hospital went to send him back to the rehab, and the rehab said, we don't take people with autism, and sent him home.
I remember
so it was like, remember that happening? So there was a lot of that going on that was extremely frustrating. And I filed complaints, I filed appeals, I filed things with boards, and it's just, I feel like it's just, for me, that was what I could do. I couldn't fix him. I knew I couldn't fix him. He had to want it too. I mean, there's a part of that too. But it was very hard because you can want to be clean, but if there's so many barriers put up to you that don't even help you to get there, it's so hard.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine what he felt every day, like not wanting to do this thing, but your body makes you do this thing, you know? And I think, again, with the co-occurring disorders, my brother, even as a child, was someone who perseverated, ruminated, and fixated on things, like just kept talking and talking about them. It was part of how he presented with autism. And then you take that with addiction, that also makes you do that.
Right.
And it's like this storm. And to find treatment that can do that is so hard to address all three things. Like, it's almost it's like a unicorn.
Correct. And when you have that little moment where you're seeing clear and you want to get sober, and then all those barriers between mental health, substance abuse, money, not having access, the legal system, it's a wonder anybody
does it, right?
And he had you and your family.
Yeah, and he had a very supportive family. We my dad, mom, my older brother, and I, we never turned our backs. We might have gotten mad. We might have yelled. We might have gone, but we never, I always said to my brother, I said, I don't love the things you do, but I love you. And that'll never change. Like, I know this is not you. I can separate the two. but you need to get it together. Like, you need to do better, and I'll help you do that. Like, I've sent him to hospitals. I set up things. I got him pulled strings for places. Like I said, filed complaints. I would file appeals with his insurance company. And keep in mind, my brother lived in 3 different states, and all 3 states had the same barriers. Some worse than others. I will say, he went to one hospital in Florida. Took me months to find him to get into this place because it was really difficult down there. Got him in, and then he was discharged because they lost their funding and had to get rid of 7 beds.
Oh my gosh.
And he was one of the newer ones, so they kicked him out. So there's just a lot of things that were like, you take like a inch and then they put like a mile further in front of you. And if you took all the times my brother went to detox or to a mental health hospital for 5 days, because that's typically what he would get, 5 to 10 days at most, very rarely any more than 10. Try curing 30 years of mental illness and drug addiction in 10 days. But if you took all those 5 to 10 days stays over 30 years, you could have given him a year of treatment. Like, why are we just not doing what we know works? Why are we hoping we give a little and that'll fix when we know, proven over and over and over again, that does not work.
Right.
And the other issue is my brother would go to IOP. That would be the other thing that he would get.
Which is intensive
outpatient. But there would be so many people with his anxiety and his autism, he couldn't be there. He would get claustrophobic and panicky, and he'd want to leave, which could be, part of the avoidance too. But those programs didn't fit him, is the point. They weren't the thing that was going to work. The thing that would have worked for my brother would have been like a year, like a long-term program with structure and routine every day, have it kind of being really doing the work of therapy, intensive skill training, job training, like all those things would have been what probably could have helped him. Instead, what we got was 3 days here, 5 days here, 7 days here, 10 days here, and you're on a waiting list for that, and a waiting list for this, and a waiting list for that. And that just, over time, just makes you give up.
Yes. So he died in March, and I know that was it's still a very difficult time for you and your family. A few questions. One, what do you want families to know now who might be struggling with a young adult going through this? Where can they get help? What should they do?
So I think it's important to, when we're talking to young teens, even elementary, I would even go even earlier, because I think we teach them about what drugs and alcohol and smoking does to your body physically, right? All the commercials that we see with the really graphic medical stuff. Where I think we're lacking is that we're not teaching them that there are risks of being an addict. Like, if you have a mental health condition or autism, I think I saw from a study in Cambridge, like 3 times more likely to become an addict. If you have a parent that was an addict, you're like 8 times likely to become an addict. If you have any kind of trauma in your background, if you have, struggles in school, or something just happened that was really difficult for you, like all these risks, like, just know, like, you and your friend could both smoke weed, and your friend, if they don't have those risks, they might be fine. They might not become an addict. But with your background, your genetics, or if you have someone in your family who's an addict, or throughout your generations, trauma can be passed down and everything, like, you might be at risk for that. And I think we're missing that piece of it, of telling the kids of what in them that they might not know about with substance abuse. So there's a lot of resources out there that parents can reach out to and see, to learn more.
And so what do you think about NAMI? Is NAMI one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, NAMI is a good one. Any reputable, organization that's out there doing the work, really.
So the other question I had as a therapist, one of the things that I talk to the people in the practice, and it comes from the trauma-focused CBT training that I had. In every supervision, we had to talk about what were we doing for self-care, like practice what we preach. And it didn't matter how long that took. She made us all talk about what we were doing for self-care. So what did you do and what do you do now to kind of help you continue to be a therapist, to be there for your clients and the kids that you see?
That's an interesting question. So, it depends on what decade. No, I'm kidding. So, originally, like I said, I wouldn't tell anyone about it. There's this whole idea that therapists shouldn't self-disclose, right? So I just, when you're young, you just hit the ground running, and you're just like trying to figure out your way and just act like you have everything under control. At least that's what I did. I don't know if other people do that, but over time,
well, we didn't talk about it.
We didn't talk about it.
So we don't know.
Like you're, you should just,
suck it up
and do 20 million jobs, like as a social worker, and just keep it on, right? Until you get burnt out. And burnout was almost like the acceptable thing. How it was in the early days. It's like, if you don't get burned out, you're not doing your job.
Correct. You don't care enough.
You don't care enough. You need to be burnt out. Like you need this to be your life. And that only takes you so far. I think as you get older, you learn more the balance. I'm very good at doing the job and going home, but what I do love to do, I read. I love my gardening. And I love my birds.
Oh, geez.
I have my video birdhouse that I watch. And I color, oddly. I try to stay off my phone. And that's hard. That's an addiction too, right?
It is.
So I color. Like if I keep my hands busy, that helps. I work out. I try to go for walks and things. You try to do what you can. And I'll be honest, everyone thinks therapists have it all together. We struggle just as much as anybody else. And that's okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because we're all in it. We're all human. We're all going through something. So.
Right. And I always said, like, I became a therapist. I've said, when you're picking a therapist, how do I say it normally? I say, you want someone whose house has been on fire and they know how to put it out, right? It doesn't mean the house doesn't go on fire every now and then, but you want someone who's been through it to know how to put it out, know? And I also had to work on with my brother and my family of not always being the firefighter.
Yes. Boundaries. Boundaries is one of the reasons why Michele and I are such good friends, because we balance each other out. And when it makes me feel good when I have to tell her to watch her boundaries, but she's the first one to tell us what's okay and what's not okay. So.
I don't have, Teresa knows that I struggle with boundaries. I feel like I could fix everything with just a little bit of grit, or I could just do everything. And I'm getting better with that. The last 2 years, I think I've gotten a lot better with just kind of like reading my energy or my gut and listening to it instead of rationalizing things, because I think that's also the downside of being a therapist, is that you could see all sides of everything, right? And sometimes you give too many
reasons.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, it's all part of ACT, which I learned in the intuitive eating and binge eating anti-diet certification, that we all have parts, the self part, the firefighter, and the manager. So when the firefighter's going and it's like flaring.
Wait, that's a real thing.
Like our parts. Yes.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
And the goal is to get as close to our feeling of self as much as possible. So like gardening, coloring, reading, petting our dogs, that cuddling with our children or partners or whatever, that helps us get to our sense of self when our manager is over managing and when our firefighter is overreacting.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. Like, I said that to my father and my older brother. My mom, for the listeners, has been deceased for 10 years. 10 years. So one of the things I tell people is, my dad, my brother, and I, we were like, we wish my brother was still alive, who, by the way, had passed from a heart attack, from damage from years of drug abuse and just genetics too, because my mother passed from a heart attack. So what can you do once it happens? Like, we fought to prevent this outcome for so long as a family, 30 years of just trying to prevent this, right? And living on the edge of your seat waiting for that phone call for the 30 years. There's not a day that ever my parents would call me and I wouldn't think it was for that reason, for him being deceased. And now that that's gone, right? It's like, what do you do? Well, I do this. I'm going to try and educate people and teach people how this happens and how to be more supportive and empathetic and compassionate to those that are going through it, because there are a lot of barriers. It's not a matter of will all the time. And families that are going through it need support, because we're often isolated and alone and just kind of dealing with it with our heads down. And to tell families, you don't have to deal with it with your head down. You can reach out. And the other thing is, now that my brother is gone, is to heal, right? Because now we can go forward and kind of deal with everything that we've been through, because we're no longer putting out fires.
Okay. So is there anything last minute things that you wanted to share to everybody before we end?
I think the main thing is for teens and adolescents and children, I think it's really important that when you have a child who has challenges or is just going through a hard time, could be anything, to find something good for them to hold on to. Like, I think when I look at my brother and myself and my older brother and what the difference is of 3 kids in the same household. And I think I was good at school. I liked sports. I had a good friend group. Because to be fair, I could easily gone the other way, like very easily. Right. So I think if you find something with like motivational interviewing, right? Finding people's strengths, finding something to build them up, right? To have them lean on and having something positive outside of whatever it is that's negative or bringing them down or making them feel uncomfortable, I think is a good thing to do,
Almost like hope and purpose, giving them a sense of hope and purpose. And,
like hope, purpose, or something they enjoy that's an escape from the things that's maybe not so enjoyable. Yes. Right? And or having a coping skill, like a sport or a club or a religion. It could be anything that's outside of that. If this part of your life isn't going great, I could go to over here, or I could go to this person, or I could go to this activity that makes you feel good. And I think that's the important part, because I think my brother never found that. He liked 4-wheeling, but that's not something you could do all year. Never found his place.
I think in general, having something, an outlet, which I think as a therapist mom, I tend to overcorrect in that way because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want them to not have all the resources they can have. But yes, that is a good
it's a balance.
Tip. Yes.
Like I always had the belief of like, you don't need to be the best at it, but you need something other than... You need something to do with your time. Yes. Right? Because I think as they get older, parents back up, and it's almost like that's when they actually need us a little more so they don't get into trouble.
Also, boredom. They said that the kids need to know how to be bored.
How to be bored.
Yes, because when they don't know how to be bored, the easy thing to do, especially when there's vapes and marijuana and gummies and stuff.
Yeah.
It can be an easy coping skill. Yes.
And it's harder now. Like when we were you could smell weed on people. Now with the vaping and the gummies, you don't know if they're on anything or not. You know what I mean? So you have to be more vigilant about what your teens are being exposed to, because the red flags that we're used to aren't the same red flags. And even schools have to be aware of that now too. It's not as easy to keep up with.
Where can people find you? I know you're pretty full in your private practice, but if they wanted to find you to be a therapist for their young person, where can they find you?
So I'm on Psychology Today. I have a profile on there that you can contact me through. And even if I'm full, if you just want to talk or share or ask for information or resources, you can contact me on there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michele. I know we weren't sure how this episode was going to roll out, and thank you for trusting me and coming on the show and talking about your brother and family. And I'm so glad that I was able to ask you questions and just show the world what a wonderful person you are and why you're one of my best friends.
Aw, well, and I also want people to know out there that my brother was a very, very special soul. Like he wasn't just different in how he presented with like speaking or things like that. He was strikingly different. He had bright white blonde hair and dark tan skin and green eyes. And he just was so sweet and so special growing up that he always got attention everywhere we went. Like, oh, who's that kid? He's so cute. And he would have given, and he did actually, many times, the shirt off his back to people at the clinic or other people that were struggling. He'd take clothes to the clinic and give them out to people, or food or money. He was just so caring. And I just feel like the world felt too much for him. Like he just couldn't cope with it. And without the services or support to teach him young, like how to deal with that, substances became the way to do it. And it evolves and it changes. It's like whack-a-mole. You fix one problem and another one pops up and it just kind of snowballs. So, but he was brilliant and he was very smart. He could tell you all the facts of everything. It can happen to anybody, and you said I'm a good person. Well, I'm a good person because of him. And he made me who I am and taught me who I am. And through him, I do this job to help others. So, without him, I wouldn't be who I am.
Okay. On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we go, Aurora Healing Crew, take a deep breath like you're soaking in sunlight. Warm, steady, grounding. As you move through your day, check in with your gut. Notice how you feel around others. Your energy is precious. Protect it so you have the strength and light to do what really matters to you. Because life is hard, and we're getting through it together. Thank you for listening to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch. Visit our website at aurorasuncounseling.com to learn more. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just search Aurora Sun Counseling. Got questions or topics you'd love to hear us cover? Email us at info@aurorasuncounseling.com or drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you.